It's 6:30 a.m., and Derek, like a good teenager, is still asleep. On a summer morning, my husband and his buddy are hitting the local mountain trails while I make my escape up the road to the farm where Rockwall Garden is still asleep in the shadows. For the next hour or so, I work the rows on the south side, weeding or seeding by hand. When my green troops salute the sun, standing straight and brisk with the turgor pressure from yesterday's water, I know my time is up. I go home for breakfast and notify Derek that it's time to get to work. I bring him his hat with his Crocs, and he obligingly lays aside his Nintendo Switch, getting up off the couch with a yawn and a smile. At the greenhouse, Derek's first duty is to check the refrigerator. There was that time when Mom left him an apple pie. You never know. It is summer, and the most important stash is water bottles. So I take one and shake it up with a bit of drink mix. Derek settles into his vintage rocking patio chair and starts two favorite activities of many kids with autism, rocking and chewing the top of his water bottle. Summer priority number one is hydration. He walks all around the beds of strawberries, lettuce, radishes, carrots, peppers, and peas, etc. He proudly smiles down at their efforts. Energized by his drink, he suddenly runs out into the garden, dancing up and down the rows of brassicas, beets, potatoes, corn, tomatoes, melons, and squash. Despite the exuberance, Derek manages not to trample his precious plants. There's a lot going on under the brim of that baseball hat. In front of the gate is a huge pile of grass clippings, courtesy of our neighbor Dave. Grass clippings are the secret to making our water go as far as possible. I give Derek his pitchfork and park the wheelbarrow next to the pile. Grass clippings are so dense and wet, they resist the pitchfork like a mud bank. I kick and fluff the pile with my boot, and Derek forks the grass into the wheelbarrow until it is full. I dump each load onto the pumpkin patch where the soil is poor and covered with flimsy landscape fabric. The heavy mat not only prevents problem weeds that compete with water for the vines, it also retains water around the roots and encourages the earthworms to work the soil near each plant. I picture the multicolored pumpkins against a straw-colored background this fall. It is a pleasant thought. Lunch happens whenever Derek runs out of steam. When I see him starting to stim anxiously, I realize the low fuel light is on, but we don't have to quit in the middle of the road. I put the door over the side of the compost barrel and tell him, "After you turn the compost, we can go home for lunch." He cranks away. I remove the door to inspect his work, smoothing the fragrant black pile with a small rake, and pronounce it beautiful. A fist bump follows, and he bebops his way down the stairs to the truck. Late afternoon, I make what may be my third trip of the day to the greenhouse and garden, marching to the relentless beat of Mother Nature's drum. Next to the greenhouse is a large open barn housing the herd of new mothers and their calves. I see that one convalescent calf has still not moved from his little spot by the fence. Yesterday he struggled so hard to get to his feet. He stood for just a moment. I can't let him lose ground. My older son, the hired cowhand, comes over for a minute. He knows just how to tickle those skinny flanks until the calf's jump reflex gets his back legs up. He is very shaky from being down for more than a week, but he actually takes a few steps to the water trough. This is a triumph. His 1-ton mama does a dance for joy. My green living things are still in need of repotting, weeding, feeding, spraying for bugs, pruning, and deadheading. Will any of that get done before I have to go home and make supper for my husband and sons? Everything can wait except for the white bugs on our special petunias. I mix up a bottle of Captain Jack's and douse the hanging baskets that got too pretty to remain unnoticed by the pests. A black hose trails out the back door of the greenhouse into the garden. My friendly water fairy is here doing her job. What would I ever do without this reliable little employee from down the block? The black and white living things next door to the garden are fine for the moment. My men are hungry. I can go. We will eat well this evening because of this farm. How could we not give our best to it day after day? Preparations for supper begin at the greenhouse. I untangle the tops of kaleidoscope carrots and pull, shaking their shoulders loose from the soil in the cedar boxes. Happy to see that today's colors are purple and yellow, I remove the tops and stop at the delighted bunny pen outside the garden gate. Their noses vibrate like little chainsaws as the green leaves disappear. At home, I defrost a pound of hamburger and think about this year's herd of steers. There is a lot I can do to encourage my older son to ensure that they live their best life possible. Cattle can become stressed when they are neglected, and it is easy for those of us in charge to overlook their needs if we are inexperienced. Thankfully, the owners of the farm make it part of their branding to treat their animals well, and we have learned much from them. As the hamburger browns in the skillet, I go to the cellar to find a jar of tomato sauce. I make sure that the lid says taco, since the jars of spaghetti sauce look the same and tonight's menu is taco lasagna. I think about this year's crop of tomatoes and make a mental note to prune the vines for greater productivity. Most of the jar of taco sauce goes into the skillet, and there's 1/4 of a cup left over. I tip up the jar and drink it down. Why would I do such a silly thing? This sauce contains a delightful blend of specialty peppers ordered from Marigold Farm, my friend's market garden in Pennsylvania. Variety peppers are not my thing, and it is worth it to me to rely on my friends. They have the perfect unique blend of fresh peppers ready for mail order when I start to put up tomatoes. I love to savor that pure roasted pepper goodness before I blend it with any commercial taco seasoning. The tortillas and meat sauce are ready to stack in layers, but I'm low on cheddar cheese. I get out a frozen package of homemade mozzarella left over from last summer when we were milking the Jerseys and Holsteins. It may not be strictly Mexican, but my family doesn't care. It's brown, it's bubbly, and they can cut it in squares. I dice up garden tomatoes, serve up the carrots in ice water, and call it a meal. My husband and sons return thanks and dig in. I watch their handsome bearded faces bent eagerly over their plates. There is a reason they call this type of recipe a man-pleaser. It is all the reward I need.